What's up YouTube? What's up everyone? I'm back with another video, and today I'm going to review probably one of the most anticipated movies of the summer for me, and that's Alien Romulus. I reacted to the two trailers. I was really thrilled with the two trailers, and this honestly was a movie that I was like,
please don't suck.
Because I was going to be really sad if this movie sucked, because I had such high expectations, and I was just like, yeah, like this, please, like I was praying for this to be really what I wanted to be. But also I was like, you know what? This is the kind of movie that, you know, it's too big of a movie to just talk alone. So that's why I was like, I have to bring someone here. And there's someone really special that I know, and I want you to meet her. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you KT. What's up, KT? How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm good. Thank you so much for joining this review with me. So before we start, like, KT, would you like to present yourself? Like, let us know, like, who are you and what you do? We all love the pink hair, so yeah.
Yes. If you don't know me or recognize me by my pink hair by now, my name is KT Baldassaro. I am a movie actress, a director, a filmmaker, a writer, and a film critic, and you'll see me a lot on TikTok and YouTube. If you're seeing me on TikTok, you're seeing me as movie runtime, and I'm doing all that. Those are film reviews and kind of like interesting factoids about films that I'm producing myself. If you're seeing me on YouTube, you are likely seeing me as part of movie night extravaganza. And in fact, I'm going to drop something on this video right now that is totally new information to anyone and has not been said anywhere else.
Let's go, the scoops, let's go.
The scoops. I have just been hired to be a permanent host on that. So instead of guest hosting and stuff like that, I will now be a permanent host for Movie Night Extravaganza.
Oh my god, really? That's great. Oh my god, KT, you rock. Congratulations.
Thank you.
KT, one question. Are you a horror fan?
I am definitely a horror fan. I'm also a horror film director. So my first film was definitely horror. I wrote it. I started it. I work a lot with Jared Skolnick, and I think he would describe himself as a horror film director, although he does a lot of great comedy stuff too.
That's
so good. Most of my early work is going to be in horror, and a lot of the stuff that I've done is B horror as well. So like if you look at me up on IMDb, you'll be like, oh shit, yeah, that's on Tubi, or I could get that on Amazon Prime for 99 cents. Not good stuff, but it's there. I didn't write some of that stuff, so I can't be held accountable for some of that stuff. But Girl in the Basement, I did write, and you can watch it on YouTube.
Maybe I'll do a watch along, because I've never watched that movie. So maybe a watch along with KT. That would be fun with KT.
Hey,
guys,
I would love that.
Like if you want that, go ahead, people. Go ahead, support, I was asking, the horror aspect, because we've watched a horror movie right now. A lot of our dear friends are saying that this is one of the best movies of the year. Oh, some of them called it a masterpiece. So I kind of want to dig into that, because like I said in the intro, this was probably one of my most anticipated movies of the year. The two trailers really convinced me a lot. I will just say that I didn't like the second trailer, because they kind of spoil you a character that's going to die, and that was kind of weird to spoil that. That was a bit weird. I'm like, why would you do this? You know? Yeah, I would love to start. So KT, once you walked out of the movie theater, what were your first impressions of Alien Romulus? And then we're going to go with the good stuff we liked, and maybe the bad stuff we wish
get into the nitty gritty. I also anticipated this film very much. I'm a big fan of the major arcing franchise. I've seen the movies. I've seen Raised by Wolves. I am a big fan of the way that this particular franchise does two things. It asks us what it is to be human, and it also scares the living crap out of us a little bit while we're doing that. So you're going to be entertained, but you're also going to have to use your brain a little bit, and I love that. And so I didn't get to see Alien Romulus when it first came out. I got sick, and I had to wait a couple of days so that I make sure not to get other people sick.
Yeah.
So I was influenced by all of the reviews that were coming out. Everyone was either telling me that it was a masterpiece or telling me that it was like a 1-star movie. So having just gotten burned by my other most anticipated movie, which was Longlegs, I did not care for Longlegs. And I wanted to so badly that I went into this movie being like,
look, just don't embarrass me.
And so I left it going, yeah, it definitely isn't a 1-star movie. But at the same time, I would be extremely hesitant to call this a masterpiece.
Yeah.
It is very enjoyable, and it is more thought-provoking than I think people are giving it credit for, but there are some things that are unforgivable.
Oh, okay. Can't wait to dive on that. As for me, so yeah, it was one of probably my most anticipated movie of the summer, at least that I remember. And honestly, it didn't disappoint me. I think I was really enjoyed from beginning to end. For me, it's like if I have to be like just based on what I felt, like for me, this was really like probably at least top 5 movies of the year for me. At the end of the day, it's still I'm still thinking this is an alien movie. You know that this is based on a franchise that has been kind of bottomed down. You know, so they had a lot to do, and I think Fede Alvarez really did a good job. At least for me, like that was really solid. And I want to start with that. I'm going to start with one of the positive. Fede Alvarez. I think people should mention this guy more because he came out from Don't Breathe, which I really enjoyed. I don't remember if I watched the second one, and I don't know if he directed, but I know Don't Breathe and Evil Dead Rise, the remake he did, which I thought it was good. But Don't Breathe was really nice. And actually, there's even a scene that he really, really used Don't Breathe like style. Remember when they needed to? Yeah, that was Don't Breathe. Like I'm like, this is his footprint.
He also wrote this with Rodo Sayegas. I'm not even sure if I'm saying that correctly. Who worked on Don't Breathe with them? They both wrote this stuff together. So there is definitely a carryover from both of the writers on this particular script.
He didn't produce a lot of movies. Like he's kind of a newcomer-ish, if we can say like that. And you know, I think like he has really a lot of potential. Like after watching Don't Breathe, I remember I was intrigued to see what he could bring. And after watching this movie, I'm like, first of all, he kind of likes to. I love the fact that he loved practical effects. He was more into practical effects than a lot of CGI, and that was a directorial choice. Also, like I think he's really good with a small budget. Like he really tried his best to have a small budget movie here, and that's really important if you want to talk about business perspective. And I think like I love the fact that he really went back to the horror basis, and that's where I'm like, oh, that's really cool of Fede Alvarez doing that, and I think it really works well in this movie. Like this movie, the atmosphere of this movie, I felt it was the scariest part, more than the aliens, more than like horror movies, they love to do jump scares and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's really only one. I think we could definitely say this is the largest budget Fede Alvarez has been.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Because like I think everybody within the horror community knows Don't Breathe, but I don't think that it's a very mainstream thing for people to know. So this is kind of a lot of people's. If you didn't see Evil Dead as well, this is kind of your first Fede Alvarez, which is both good and bad because the people who had Evil Dead as their pre-knowledge of him complained that they didn't feel like this was gory enough or that kind of horror enough. And I think that they're forgetting a key aspect of this, which is it is still the Alien franchise. And the Alien franchise, which will verge a little bit on gory and such, is more of a psychological pacing terror action. And this is the problem that horror has, where when we start to talk about what is horror, it's a lot like comedy. It's super subjective. But unlike comedy, people want to bifurcate it and say, like, this isn't horror, it's a psychological drama. This isn't horror, it's a thriller. Yeah. All of those things are fucking scary. Why are they not the same?
Another thing I wanted to point out, and I think I talked a little bit about that, like that was the practical effects. Like I think that for me really worked. Like it was nice to see morph, really like this more robotics. Of course, there was some CGI a little bit, but like it really for me it paid off so well, and also like the environment that they created that was really nice for me.
Yeah, and I really loved. I'm looking. I just wanted to make sure I got his name right.
Yeah.
So I have a dichotomy of answers for how I feel like they handled their CGI versus practical work, and let's talk about first what we liked about it, because that's what we're kind of focusing on first.
Yeah.
And I think that the use of Robert, and he's Romanian, so I'm gonna mess up his last name, Babrosiki.
Sorry, Romanian folks.
Sorry, people. You can look him up on the thing. It's Robert B. He is 7'7", and if you look at him on IMDb,
I think he's a basketball player, right, or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. This is his first acting role. They barely put any makeup on him. That is a really practical thing that's happening at the end, with a little bit of assistance from CGI, and of course a lot of assistance from makeup. But to realize that the big baddie at the end was mostly practical and deeply effective. Yeah, I liked that. I enjoyed the hell out of it. The last 30 minutes of this, Like Fede and Rodo did a wonderful job in their pacing. This is a 2-hour movie, and that could be excruciating when you're talking about thriller, but it's great. And then in the last 30 minutes, it's just fucking nuts. If you are affected by body horror, like Cronenberg stuff, and I think that scene, I went with some people, another person that was female oriented, and then two men, and I will tell you that both of us, if you have any kind of trauma around birth, this might be too much for you, because that was really graphic and it was a lot. The person I saw it with was just like, and like crunching in their seat because it is visceral. So what I thought that it really did quite well is incorporate the Romulus story. I mean, this is called Alien Romulus. So you got to ask yourself, what the fuck is Romulus? Yeah. And it's an old Roman story. It's the story of how we get Rome. You have these two twins, Romulus and Remus, who are born to a woman who is supposed to be a virgin and cannot have children because her father was in charge of the town before, but he's been dethroned. And she goes to worship Mars, and he rapes her, and she gets pregnant and has twins, and they have to be killed. They don't get successfully killed. Instead, they are raised by a wolf. Oh my God, that sounds like a familiar title. Who nurses them until a shepherd finds them, and they find out that this has happened to them when they're much older. But because they're raised by this wolf who they drink her milk, it's like a goo that makes them superhuman. Kind of like the goo at the end, this ability to transcend and be more powerful than humans. They take back over the town, and then they go to find Rome. But in going to find Rome, the two twins disagree, and Romulus has to kill Remus. Yeah. So there's this fight to ascend. They tell him his glory will be that he ascends to the stars, and he finds Rome and becomes a like semi-deity to this cult, and so he becomes a god and ascends to the stars. This whole thing could be looked at like that. We have many people that could be the twins. I mean, the center is called Romulus and Remus, obviously, but you could look at Andy and Rain as Romulus and Remus. You could look at humans and xenomorphs as Romulus and Remus. And there's this fight to who will transcend, who will become the supreme type of entity over this goo that keeps coming back to us. But because humans are such horrible, shitty parasites, we can never succeed. We can never make the decision that Andy makes to do something for the good of everyone and kill maybe just one person, the trolley problem that we keep having in this movie. And we keep bringing alien to everywhere we go. Every single alien ends with us bringing alien again. Like, why are we such shits? And it's got a logical consistency that iterates throughout the entire film. So when people say that this film feels like a masterpiece, that's where I agree with them to a certain degree, where I'm like, yeah, it's very literary at certain points, and it consistently reminds us of that. It's not just called Romulus because there's this space station that has two sides of it, and they needed a famous twin. They could have used Castor and Pollux if they just needed twins. So it makes a lot of sense to choose these particular two. And even at a certain point, like we see the door has the image of a very famous sculpture of Romulus and Remus, which in and of itself is like a meta reference, because that sculpture has the wolf part was made way before the two twins were added on. And Alien, its franchise, was made well before Fede comes here. But Fede is adding these two twins to the existing art. So in its own self, like Romulus is Romulus. Like it's like very self-referential. And I enjoy that.
One thing that Alvarez does right, it's like he's really taking some stuff about 4 movies and like he's really incorporating here. And like you have some nice callbacks from those movies. This movie really feels like it feels like its own movie, but also it refers a lot of stuff that happened, and that's really great.
It does maintain at certain aspects a respect for its timeline and has jumping off points from the existent one. What is humanity? Because every alien has a synthezoid, and the synthezoid is often the most empathetic character, which is conflicting, right? How much do you love Andy in this? That's my other favorite thing about this movie. That actor, David Jonsson kills it. Yes.
I was about to go with the characters, and I was about to say that he was the best actor in this movie. He had like 3 facades to do. He really played a fantastic role here. I believe like most of the actors, like they really nailed their job. Like the what's Cailee's
Spaeny.
yeah, she really was good. I love Isabella Merced as well. She didn't have too much in this movie to do, but still, like she was really nice. But especially the two main characters were really great.
It's almost unfair because the amount of character that they give David Jonsson to take on is so much more than the other characters. Like Cailee Spaeny does a wonderful job as Rain. It's just not like Andy gets a whole emotional arc and has 3 distinct periods of acting. This is, if you want to see T to B acting, like the facial structure, the movement, he is acting with his body in a way that is reminiscent to Peter Weller in RoboCop. So you feel that he's a synthesoid. He's also making decisions down to the minutia of his face, so that even in close shots you're getting it. The language choice, like he's acting so much more than everyone else that it makes their totally good acting kind of not as good, and it's not fair because their characters are just not written as well.
In the standpoint of view of cinematography, like the photography of this movie, like the shots and stuff like that, it was really well done. Like for me, this is cinema.
And they definitely used the lighting very interesting, the color palette when it goes to red towards the end as we get more intensely involved. My problem with where it fails deeply, though, is it is a little spaghetti against the wall. Whereas like some of that CGI and some of that practical effects are perfection. Yes. Some of it is borderline Clutch Cargo Lips and the Muppets. Like there were scenes where I was scared, and there were scenes where I couldn't help but start giggling because like the xenomorphs looked like they were on sticks. Or they were moving like a Muppet more than
I know which one you're talking about. I remember that scene. That was the only one I'm like, okay, this one,
Or the scene where it like jumps up against the glass and you get the whole big old tongue. Like that, is that scary or is that funny?
Yeah, that was a really weird one.
Yeah, but then there were scenes where they CGI'd them coming through things like liquid, and that was great, and that was upsetting, and I won't say that wasn't. So there were times when they used it well and times when they didn't use it well, and I would be remiss to not mention that I feel the most unforgivable thing is the way that they handled Rook, Ian Holmes's character, the existence of needing to have that robot again. Which is, they went practical with a lot of things on this, and they absolutely positively should have gone practical on that. We have half robots that exist that are just torso up robots that we could have made to look like Ian Holmes. That thing where they superimposed the lips over it looked horrible, and it was in so much of the movie. So it was really disorienting and
actually
upsetting.
I think that's kind of controversial because I think if I'm not mistaken, that's an actor that already died, right?
That is dead. So the lips are a different actor. If you look on the IMDb, it is quoted to the actual actor who did the lips. So there is a complete. They have literally cut out and put in another actor's lips, and then they CGI'd the face to kind of look like Ian Holmes, and then it was a mess.
So what are the things you didn't like about the movie, or they didn't work very well for you?
I talked about it a little bit with that CGI.
Yeah,
it really is the CGI. That's really where I felt like, holy crap. This is like something that you would do for $1 on a variety show in the 60s level of bad. And for me, it is unforgivable to have a budget of this magnitude and have something that feels like it is that bad. That's really, and then of course the little bits of times when I laughed instead of being scared because I feel like it took it a little too far. But also, that could be part of the tempo, though. Sometimes you want your audience to laugh in between being scared to give them a moment's reprieve. So even that I will forgive. So there's really just one big thing that I don't care for. And then, there's minutia things where that character could have been written more well-rounded, or I don't really feel like that's how gravity works in that particular space situation. But that's nitpicky stuff that I'm not going to apply to a movie in a large arcing review. I do feel like this is a 3.5-star movie. It's very enjoyable. Okay,
that's cool. I would say that I remember I felt it was starting to get long at the beginning. Honestly, I was enjoying I'm like, whoa, like I can't wait for them to finally like be in this spaceship in the space station, because I'm like, whoa, it's getting long. So I remember there was some little, at least for me, I kind of felt a little bit, it was kind of dragging a little bit. I kind of wish we had a little bit more of the characters. Like I think some of the characters, I wish like they could have done a bit more with those characters, like especially the first one. Like the first one, we barely know her, So yeah, at the end of the day, like that's why for me, I really enjoyed this movie. Like this was really what I wanted to be. I wasn't looking for perfection. It's still an alien movie. For me, I'm gonna give this movie probably like so you give it 5. I'm gonna give it probably like a 4 out of 5 stars. Like like I said, for me, it really worked a lot. Like I even wanted to rewatch it again. So that's a really good sign. When a movie tempts you to watch it again, that's a good sign. I really highly recommend you guys to go watch this movie. I think you're going to have a lot of fun. Of course, like I said, if you have to remember this is an alien movie, like I don't know what your standards are, just remember it's a franchise. I'm going to tell you right now, I probably think you're going to have a good time, especially like I said, if you love horror movie, if you love alien franchise, and if you're down for some awesome kills, because there's some awesome action and kills in this movie, you're gonna love this. First of all, thank you so much, Katie, for being here. Honestly, it's really nice to have you here. It's an honor. Actually, it's an honor. We're having like an actress and all. I'm like, yo, this is really fun. But especially like she's just another cinephile, and she's really nice. So that's the most important thing,
Thank you. Right back at you. If somebody's gonna let me talk about a movie, I'll do it. And it's a joy to get to do it with you. So, and like you said, maybe we'll do a watch of my short film, and we'll
we'll love that. Yeah, we'll love that. I will let you some little time so you can tell people what to find you and what's coming on your channel.
I'm Movie Runtime on pretty much every platform, on YouTube, on TikTok, even on Instagram. You can find me under Movie Runtime, even though I'm really under Little Deadly Creature. Movie Runtime is my backup account, and it'll kick you over to Little Deadly Creature. I'm also doing that podcast, which you can find on Apple and Spotify, called What If I Don't Like It? You can also find me now on Movie Night Extravaganza starting in September, and that's going to be on YouTube. These are things you can just type into Google and find pretty easily. And my name is KT Baldassaro, the word bald, then the word ass, and then the letters A, R, and O. And if you type that into Google, you'll pretty much find me on every single platform and my IMDb and all the weird stuff that I've done, because I'm constantly doing tons of things. So yeah, that's the long and the short. If you follow me on social media, you'll find out what I'm doing, which is usually something every day.
So guys, don't forget to go and subscribe to Katie. She's really awesome, and I would love to have you. Yeah, for sure, we're gonna have you another time here. So anyway, guys, tell us in the comment section down below, everyone, cinephiles, like, what did you think about Alien Romulus? Do you think it's a masterpiece? Do you agree with our picks, our positive and negative stuff? Tell us all that on the comment section down below, please. Also, if you like this video, don't forget to give a huge like. Don't forget to subscribe to Katie. It's so hard. To Katie, and also don't forget to subscribe to your host, Jason Entertainment. With that, everyone, I'll say goodbye and take care. Peace, everyone.